What's up? This is Christopher from breezyskins.com, and today we're going over the installation process of putting some custom graphics on this Rogue Echo bike. For our installation today, we're going to need an applicator card, we're going to need a pair of scissors, some alcohol prep pads, and a little bit of painter's tape. So first step on the Echo bike, I'm going to take some alcohol prep pads or some just isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to make sure that I get all these areas that's going to have graphics on it super clean. Get all the oil, all the dust, all the debris off before we start putting graphics down. So I've got my bike all prepped. Next up, I've got 14 graphics here. I want to make sure that I separate these out, get them exactly where they're going to be going, or at least where I know where they're going, which direction they need to be pointed. Make sure I've got all of them here, and I'm not getting one upside down or in the wrong spot or anything like that. All right, so as you can see, got all my graphics laid out nicely here, corresponding to where they're going to go and in what direction, so I know that I've got everything on straight. Okay, so to get started on laying down some vinyl, there's two different ways that you can kind of go about these. I'm going to show you guys both ways. The first way that I'm going to show you is kind of the fail-safe way. It's a little bit longer to do, but if you're really worried about getting these on perfectly straight and you don't really trust your eye that much, you can do this way, and it's a lot safer way to get these down perfectly straight. So we're going to start with this top piece, especially the bigger pieces. I may use this method, which is the hinge method basically. So I've got my piece here that I'm going to use. I've got a couple of short pieces and one longer piece of tape. So I'm going to take first one of my shorter pieces, get my top piece nice and centered up here, stick that in down, take another shorter piece, come down to the bottom, get that nice and centered perfectly, make sure that it's nice and smooth down as well, nice and flat. And I'm going to take a slightly longer piece, I'm going to put this somewhere down in the middle, nice and flat as well. And I'm going to create a hinge here. So this is going to be, make sure that's all the way across, because now I'm going to peel up one of my ends here. I'm going to free up some of this backing paper from the vinyl down to that hinge that we made. Take my scissors, making sure that I'm not moving this in any way. Now I'm just going to take my squeegee, starting at that hinge. I'm just going to simply press all the way up through, and then as always, using my fingers, hitting up these edges and making sure I don't have any bubbles. Once that's down, I'm going to peel up my other two pieces of tape, free up the remainder of the backing paper, and then just squeegee the rest of the way down. There we go. I told you that there's two methods that you can use. Here's the other one. It's going to be a little bit quicker. On smaller pieces, like these pieces back in here, I typically use these whenever they start to get too big. I do tend to rely on making sure that I get these taped down. But for a piece like this, it's not super big. I'm just going to go ahead, peel this all the way up from the backing paper. I'm just going to eyeball it on either end. Get my top piece just stuck down, not completely pushed down, just enough to keep it into place here. And then I'm going to get my bottom edge and making sure that I'm kind of working gingerly here, not being too forceful with it. I'm going to get that stuck down. So I've got both my ends straight, but then I'm still going to do essentially what we did on that other piece. I'm going to flatten this down nice and flat here in the middle. Then I'm going to free up these ends here so I don't cause any wrinkles. And then I'm just going to do the same thing as before, just smoothing from the middle out. And I'm going to free up this piece over here, bring it up to where we were, and then just pushing that down as well. You can also use your squeegee for this. For some of these smaller pieces, your hand works just fine, honestly, as long as they're clean. That's good. All right, so as you can see, I've already worked around most of these other graphics here. So all of these that are put down, you can use one of the two ways that we've shown so far. On these, I just did the peel and stick, or if you don't feel comfortable doing that, again, just go ahead and use that hinge method with the tape, get it into place and lay those down. So I did want to show this one though. This piece kind of awkwardly cut here with the circular piece here. Obviously that's not a standard size piece here, so I am going to use this hinge method, and I want to make sure that I show you guys how I get this nice and straight. It's really not much different than the other hinge method stuff that we've used, just it being a kind of odd shape. It kind of looks a little bit intimidating, but it's really not much different than the other pieces that we've shown here. So I'm just getting this stuck down into place with a couple pieces of tape here. So this looks nice and straight. It's gonna lay great. And I'm gonna get my longer piece. I'm gonna make my hinge just kind of anywhere here in this middle. Make sure that it's stuck down nice and flush. Free up some of this packing paper. Get my scissors. Free that up here. And from there, just gonna smooth down in one direction here, moving from the middle out. Perfect. And then like that. Up. Also, it's worth noting, make sure you guys are using painter's tape. Stay away from duct tape, Gorilla tape, anything that's super strong. If you've got too sticky of a tape, you're liable to stretch or even tear your vinyl. The painter's tape is just right. It's got just enough adhesive to where it holds it down in place, but it's not it's not going to damage it whenever you're peeling it away. So there we go. All right, so this side is done. Let's do the same thing on the other side, and then we're finished with the inside.